And good afternoon. It is Wednesday, October 26th, and it is also the afternoon, and I just had to double check myself. We do this every single month, Frank Prosnitz and I, and we are lucky and thankful that she joins us, and she is Colleen Burns Jermain, Superintendent of Newport Public Schools. Hello, Superintendent.
Hi, Colleen.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday.
I'm going to dive into the toughest question of the day.
First of
all,
I
think Halloween parties, and what are you dressing up as Halloween?
I haven't figured that one out yet. I do have to make a decision pretty soon. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to wear red and black or I wear, what is it, the blue wave. I don't know. Maybe I wear red, black, and blue.
No, you know what? The way this is going, black and blue might be the color.
Oh, no. There you go.
So I have to commend you. You're still smiling.
Oh, yeah. It's all good. Everyone may not agree, but the great part I think about this whole thing is everyone's talking about education. And everyone's, saying, we need to focus on that.
Yeah, I went through all the sample ballots from every town in the state. And I think I'm correct that there's $1.4 billion worth of school construction on ballots throughout Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. It's a big year for education. Now, that doesn't include the state bond.
Correct. That's why it's everyone's trying to get in the queue. And we were lucky that Newport, our voters, thank you again, voters of Newport, passed our bond over a year ago now. Well, no, back in 2020. It's 2 years, almost 3 years now. And we've been underway. We've got a brand new Pell Edition and Rogers High School. Oh my goodness, if you drove by Wickham Road, you can already see the changes. We've got the temporary bus loop coming in. We've got the demolitions going to be starting, I believe, at the end of next week with the auditorium. They're disconnecting the electricity this weekend. We had to extend the abatement a little bit more, but it's rocking and rolling over here on Wickham Avenue. And Pell, we're finishing up over there with some landscaping and the bus loop. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of schools wanting that money and those incentives. So,
let me ask this right off the bat, because it kind of tells us why all this is being done. How's the atmosphere different at Pell today than it was 2 or 3 years ago?
It's a beautiful building. Everyone's happy. We've got plenty of room now. Everyone has, their own spot, their own place. We're not doubling up. It's just amazing. The colors, you're either cool when you're supposed to be cool and you are warm during the little cooler days, but it's going really well. And the bus loop, what a huge difference that makes as far as traffic and safety in the morning. We now have an exclusive area for where the children get dropped off, and they just come in, in a nice, safe environment, much calmer. It's not as chaotic as it used to be. We have a traffic pattern now that works well for parent drop-off. Even on the very first day of school, which is very unusual, we had parents complimenting us left and right. Principal Westman was in heaven. They were all like, that never happens on the first day of school, because usually it's getting the kinks out. And it's good. It's all good. We're very, very happy. And Bean Brothers been super over there with Studio Jade. So we're very fortunate. Now we're dealing with Gilbane and Slam on the Rogers campus, and that's moving along.
And Colleen, is everything going as planned and kind of on time with the Rogers High School?
Here and there, some, yes. Material deliveries, we're trying right now, reconciliation. As a matter of fact, long meeting I just stepped off of as far as the budget for Rogers and trying to get those final construction documents, the 60% files finished for Rhode. We're still going back and forth. Our Joe DeSanti and their crew, they're reconciling bids that are coming in versus the estimates that they had. Some are a little higher than we would like to see. So that's when we start to look at some value engineering and what we're going to have to do if we have to do it. But it's all still in the draft, and we are chomping at the bit to get those numbers so we can see what we're really dealing with going forward.
Do you think you're going to be able to remain in budget, or Or will you remain in budget because you have to make some adjustments along the way?
Remaining in budget is always our goal, and I don't want to speculate. So I'm just going to say that is our goal. We're going to remain in the budget and do our best to give the best to our students and staff and the voters of Newport.
Colleen, you are the one superintendent, so you're the only person I can ask this. Give me, from a superintendent's point of view, dumb down, make it as easy as possible for me to understand the regionalization question.
The regionalization question is exactly that. Does the city of Newport and the town of Middletown want to come together and become one school district? Period. That's it. A lot of people say, no, it's a different kind of regionalization. Once that if regionalization passes, once that vote passes, then everything is seen through the lens of regionalization. That includes facilities, that includes staffing, that includes contracts. And what should happen immediately, as soon as possible, that transition team gets together, starts bringing together ideas, bringing together, a lot of advocates we've heard that have said, we want one high school, we want the children more together. Middletown needs to move forward and start putting together its plans for facilities. And as they're doing it, it's through the lens of regionalization. And I think that's something people are not thinking about. I think it's still because we're used to the us and them, Newport and Middletown, and because Newport went through this process all by itself and we had to do it on our own, it's going to be different, in my opinion, if it passes, because the voters have made the decision. We want regionalization. So we look at everything now through the lens of regionalization.
So if the concept is, or if people come together with the idea of regionalizing facilities, one high school, one middle school, would that vision be whatever Middletown builds for its high school becomes either a high school or a middle school, and Rogers becomes either a high school or a middle school, and then Thompson goes out to pasture? And what about the middle school that they're looking to build in Middletown?
So I'm going to say this. Anything will be possible through the lens of regionalization with the people that are elected to the regional school board. And that is why I believe we had one person at one of the meetings, community meetings, say, this is your job. This is everyone's job. Then why don't you start putting together something like this? But I think it's change. Change is hard. And people are still wrapped up in the language that's on the ballot, which they should be. They should be paying attention to that. And I'm just going to say, as an observer, and hearing that a lot of people don't like that language, I would imagine there will be a lot of people that may want to take that on as a new regional school board member. I think that would be something. And I do think we've had enough time. And the reason I say that is you have candidates that filed in June. We're looking at voting for people that are going to be possibly our next mayor and on our council. And we just got to know the candidates since June. And for the regionalization, it was, rumbling started in February. And then we all know, we may not have liked how the process unfolded. It was, I think, for the school committees and their chairs, they feel the process, it was more done unto them than with them. But also, when the superintendent and I got drafted back in May to be part of a steering committee, we started to hear more about it, and we started to learn, what the process was, why we unfolded the way we did, and what the goals were, trying to find enough funding so that the children in Middletown, primarily so the children in Middletown and staff could have new facilities, just as when we were there before, Newport wanted back when we proposed regionalization. And now going forward, we learned that both communities can have some kind of, I'll call it, win out of this going forward. as far as Middletown getting the bonuses and what they need, that 80% reimbursement, and Newport getting, I'll call it a windfall we didn't expect of 46 million that we can apply to reduce the bond. Or ideally, as I said from the very beginning, the best thing about all of this, and I am a person that looks at things half full, is that everyone's talking about education. Everyone's talking about what do we need to do. Everyone's talking about what are the benefits of education in this regionalization, and what is it we need to do to make our systems stronger, better improve student achievement. And those are the conversations we're hearing. People are very passionate and interested about it.
Colleen, you are you're in a tight position because you have to live with the result no matter what happens either way. But
that's every day, Ryan.
Right? Yes,
that's every day. Snow, whatever.
So I understand if you don't want to answer this question, but are you, as the superintendent of Newport Public Schools, publicly coming out one way or the other on the question?
I'm, as the superintendent of Newport Public Schools, I am saying do what you feel is best, and let the voters decide what they believe is best for the children, teachers, and staff of both communities. I've said it to you publicly before. I don't believe education stops at the zip code, whether it's 02840 or 02842 or 02871 or 02835 or 02878. That's Portsmouth. That's Portsmouth, Tiverton, and Little Compton, if those people don't know what those zip codes are. So.
I knew some of them. Frank, there will be a test on those later.
Oh, thank you. But I took notes on the slide, so I got it all set here. So no matter what, Newport comes out ahead because Newport has passed the bond. They've had Pell basically done. Rogers is on the way. That will make a huge impact on the community, on the students, on the faculty, on everybody in Newport. So Newport doesn't lose in this equation. Middletown, however, can lose big time because everything has to pass in order for their building construction to happen. And I think that's the way that it's hooked in. So I'm trying to understand, based on all of that, the dollars. So I'm looking at this headline here in this Middletown and Newport Public Schools regionalization report. It says regionalization decision is worth almost $500 million for Middletown and Newport. And then we talk $46 million for each community. And then we talk, is this a debt reduction, or is somebody getting a check in the mail? Walk us through this finance thing.
All right, I'm not the finance person that put that out. All about that $500 million. This is my best guess at it. My best guess at it is with Middletown coming in and going for a much higher bond than Newport did. They're going to be receiving a much larger dollar amount in that 80% reimbursement than Newport had. Newport at the moment has the 53.5 reimbursement, but then we'll be getting an additional 46 million on top of that. So if you look at, and again, I'm not the one that put together that $500 million. I think if you look at the numbers, you're going to get pretty close to how much over time with interest is going to be paid out to the communities in one shape or another. The other is the capital projects, as far as the 67% reimbursement versus the 35% reimbursement. So I am going to say this, Frank, Newport does lose out if we don't get something, if we don't go for regionalization, because going forward, the expenses that we now have will not be reimbursed at 67%. They'll be reimbursed at 35%. We also will not get the transportation incentives that we're enabled to get. We also, and if you look at some of the expenses we have now, ongoing expenses, we'll continue to have those, and those will continue to rise. And first and foremost, my hope is throughout this entire process that we finally, with those funds that we were not expecting, we set up an education endowment for the regional school district, for Newport, that enables us to have predictable funding for 2 to 3 years. If you look at what happens year to year in school districts where they have to go in and they have to ask for money, superintendents are constantly having to plan on a 1-year basis because their funding's not predictable. So this is an opportunity to be a game changer. And I believe I'm repeating myself from the last time I was here, that this is something we could really do, especially, again, with all the people that are talking about education. They're all talking about the importance of people being able to stay and live on the island, affordable housing, trying to support not only education, but to help the commitment to education through taxes of what and how people can stay in a community. So I think that's
so. Help me out
important too.
on the 46 million. How does the city sees that? As I understand it from the mayor, that 46 million is paid out over a period of 25 years.
That is correct.
Right? Which then comes down to 1.84 million a year. And what I think she was saying is that the council has passed a resolution, if you will, that would take that money and split it between the town and the schools.
Right.
Which then comes down to roughly 920,000 that the schools will see as this predictable amount each year over that period of time. Is that accurate?
That is, I believe, how they're setting up the resolution, but that is not then the allotment that may go to the schools. That's something that could be put in some kind of education fund. It can be a way of funding our schools in a different manner. If you look at the ballot and you look at how it's worded, when and if regionalization passes on June 30th of 2024, whatever is left in each community goes to a separate fund that is exclusively for that community and for going, and it's stated in the legislation towards educational expenses. So there's that, as far as the language that was put in that ballot is good for education. The resolutions that the town and the city have put forward is good for education, and just the conversation is good for this city and town as far as education. So, and again, I'm looking at it in a positive way, how it can be good for all of us.
Colleen, speaking about conversations and going back to 02871, which is Portsmouth, everybody.
Very well done.
Yes, I used to live in that.
Let me get, hold just a minute, Ryan. 02871 Portsmouth. I got it.
02878 is Tiverton and 02835 is Little Compton.
Very good.
Had
a town councilor on earlier today from Portsmouth. Mentioned that you had gone up sometime in the past and spoken to Portsmouth Town Council. You'd gone to Portsmouth School Committee. I'm not going to ask you to predict the future, but if question 4 and 5 pass in Middletown, question 5 passes in Newport, could this be just step one of potentially having a conversation again with Portsmouth?
I think anything's possible, especially as we move forward. It's, you know, a good example is over on Jepson Lane. Portsmouth has their, it has a different name. I think it's called Aquidneck, but they have their agriculture farm thing. And I know I've been having conversations with Sarah Churchin over there about possibly partnering up out there. You know, Portsmouth and Middletown are land rich compared to Newport. And in order to have those kind of opportunities for our kids. And that's the great part about all of us on Aquidneck Island. And I'm going to say Tiverton, Little Compton, over there in Bristol Warren too. We all try to partner up and find opportunities for our students that best meet their needs, each individual child. You know, not everyone goes to school the same way. So it's a possibility. Right now, I don't think they're on the train right now, though. You know, so. But they're welcome to, you know, join in anytime.
How long ago did you talk to them, just to put it in perspective? Because
I talked to, before we started building, I think before the vote, before the 2020 vote.
So, all right. So, yeah, I remember that then. I wasn't sure if Daniela was saying something had happened more recently.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, she's great. Yes, I remember her.
Yes.
She's great. I remember.
So 3 years before the 2020 vote came the Jacobs report.
Yes.
And the Jacobs report identified, went through virtually every school, not virtually, went through every school in Rhode Island and gave it a grade, and none of them were very few were very good. Many were very good. And identified that it would take $2.2 billion to bring our schools up to a level of warm, safe, and dry. I think those were the terms they used. That was 5 years ago.
That's correct.
So my presumption is that if we took that 2.2 billion today, that would be considerably more in terms of real dollars that it would take to upgrade our schools. As I look around the state, as everybody's trying to scramble on this, there are a lot of pockets of opposition. Warwick is facing a pretty divided community on the rebuilding of two of their high schools. It's a bond like $350 million or something. And you've got taxpayers versus the education group. Westerly, which has turned down two bonds before, it doesn't seem that the opposition is as vocal, but there's certainly that element that's there as well. And elsewhere within the state, there are some senses of that. Do you think that this same atmosphere would have been? We would have gone back 5 years ago when the Jacobs report came out and alerted people to the problem, or are we too much removed from that for people to really put reality to that? I don't know if any of that makes sense, but
if your question is, are people connecting the dots? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think people are connecting the dots. I think what happens is many live in the moment, and it's a day-to-day adventure for people, and news changes very quickly, and change is something that some have difficulty handling. And I also believe we're going through tough times, really tough times, especially after COVID, especially we have staffing shortages, we have in all workforce areas. And then you have what's going on in the economy right now. So you have people that affordable housing is a crisis across the entire country. And now you have schools that are needing repair, and a lot of people on fixed incomes, and they're seeing these bonds in front of them, and they're wondering, wow, not that I don't support education, I support education, but am I going to be able to continue to live where I live? I've heard that not only in Rhode Island, I've heard it in many places. So I think that's the disconnect that's going on. And the other point I know you were making was it was X amount back then when Jacobs' report came out. It's never going to go down. It's in real money. It's going to continue to go up. So when is it? And this may go to some of the discussion about why some feel that regionalization is important, or we must do this because consolidation of facilities, improving infrastructures in public buildings, as well as better energy use will help keep costs down in some of those areas for all of us. So there's a lot to it rather than just it's about a school building. It's a lot more than a school building that people are voting on.
Colleen, I promised I've spoken with almost every single candidate for city council at large, for school committee. Common theme is, so often we talk about the conditions of schools or things like that. So I've been republishing and resharing your communications, your weekly communications with readers. We are going to put 5 minutes aside for every one of these we do for you to tell us something good going on at Newport Public Schools.
Oh, gosh. Let's see. The football team.
So you can be prepared next time.
Football team made the playoffs. We're so excited about that. The volleyball team, girls volleyball team, is doing great. We have the only two scholars on Aquidneck Island public schools, National Merit Scholar finalists, semifinalists, the only ones from Rogers High School, those two. And let's see what else we have going on. Pell has its trunk or treat this weekend. They're very excited about that. Again, that's why I have to figure out my costume. Let me see. And we had a great visit from Senator Pell last week because Pell was just awarded another $500,000 grant for STREAM, not STEAM, not STEM, not STEAM, STREAM. Science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and math. And so now the children last year they were working with drones, flying drones down the hallways. They're doing all the drones. They're learning about the science behind the drones. Now they're doing the 3D visual online software where they're taking the heart, dissecting the heart, building the different components of the arm, playing games of chess. It's really exciting. So we had a great time. Senator Reed came last week, and we had Captain MacGyver from the Newport Naval Base as well, because it's a DODEA grant, the Department of Defense grant, and this is our second one in 2 years. So I congratulate the Pell team. A big woohoo to them. And we had a great homecoming last weekend too for Rogers.
Excellent. Well, I caught you off guard this time, but next time you'll be prepared with even more of a list.
Oh, I'll be prepared with more.
That wasn't bad. That was pretty good.
That was pretty good off the top of the head.
Yeah.
How about a Sanderson sister? You could be a Sanderson sister from Hocus Pocus. Not that many
Oh my
kids
gosh.
know that.
My mother would kill me if I took my hair down and shook it.
Most kids won't know what that is.
Colleen, I did want to get a faculty update. How are we doing with staffing?
Staffing, as I shared before, has been very challenging. We are fully staffed in all our content areas now. We had a tough time with the math. We do, and we will be planning to keep the professional development, setting up some kind of internship with Salve and CCRI as far as math students for our kids. Staffing's doing okay. Yeah, we're there.
Bus drivers, that okay?
Bus drivers are tight. We're okay, but they're tight. If someone's sick or something like that, we do find we have delays. And I have to say, Tony Murgo and Ocean State have been great, but they're tight. They're tight. And they're so underappreciated as well. I don't think any of us remember that they're the first person our children see every day they go to school, and the last one they see when they go home. So bus drivers are really, really important.
I'm going to stay on the bus drivers for a minute because people might hear about a protest next week with another bus company happening on the mainland. But that is First Student. We use Ocean State Transit.
We and Middletown use Ocean State. Yes.
So when people hear that, don't freak and
don't panic.
Run into the streets. It's a different bus company.
Correct.
Excellent. Frank, anything else?
No, just, generally it sounds like things are going well in the start of school. Any surprises in the first couple of months and pleasant or unpleasant?
No, I think regionalization has been the big topic, I think, for most of us. We have tomorrow night, there's a panel. Superintendent Krager and I are on it, as well as, I believe, the school committee chairs and co-chairs. That's being held at Oliphant School on Oliphant Lane in Middletown. And that'll be from 5:30 to 7:30. And we're speaking to the regionalization process, what it could look like, transition teams, who people feel should be on it. There were suggestions of who should be on it. And then from there, we're doing question and answers where we would love, you can send any questions you like to Kathy Nash at Kathy Nash, she's with a C, CATHYNASH at npsri.net. We're taking questions. We've had some sent in my newsletter today. I'm going to ask that as well. We just, we do realize voting is underway and some people may have already voted, but if you're still unsure, and Ryan, from the interviews I've been listening to, I hear quite a few, they're either on the no or they're undecided. They don't have enough facts. What does it look like? How is this beneficial? So I think the more information you can gather, the better. If you have not voted, of course, try to be informed. And that's about it.
I
Thanks
have
for listening to the interviews.
What's that? I work out to them. I work out every night.
I have one final curiosity question. This is probably one of the most intense off-year elections or midterm elections that we've had in this country in centuries. Well, maybe not quite, but pretty intense. Are kids talking about these? Is this part of what's happening within the classroom and as a great tool to deal with civics?
I lost you. You actually froze when you said intense.
So hopefully you can hear me now. It's a
Yes,
very intense midterm election.
Yes.
Tremendous attention being paid to it. And I'm curious as to whether or not that becomes a tool, not that anybody's recommending one candidate over another, but that this whole process becomes a tool within the classroom for teachers who are teaching civics to be able to deal with that and use this as maybe a real-time example of why this is important.
I don't know. I think every day is a learning experience, but I also think it's very important that teachers follow their curriculum as best and as closely as possible. I was never a high school teacher. I was a middle school and elementary teacher. I do think you can always take, and I did teach social studies, and the thing I loved about social studies was you could make it relevant to what was going on in the world today. So I do think if all the facts, the teachers today have to be very, very careful. They need to stick to the curriculum and make sure they share facts, because it is, I will say, it's a very explosive topic from time to time about what goes on and is taught in the classroom. So,
Colleen, we are going to hold it there.
Okay.
Unless you had anything else that I know we've already gone over your time and you are very busy today, but unless you had anything else you wanted to add or bring up or any of that.
No, I'm surprised. I thought I'd get a lot more questions like contracts and this and that, but that's good.
Oh, shoot,
about
Frank,
regionalization. I was like ready. I was like, okay. I will say that did come up at one of our meetings, and as anything with contracts, I know unions were concerned about that. A contract, if it's not negotiated and not completed, it has to carry on. That's legislation, So the legislature years ago said, if your contract's up in 23 and you don't have a rollover, you can't come to an agreement. You just have to continue that contract. Warwick went through that for years. But
we've seen it in community after community that happens.
Yeah.
I've covered a number of teacher situations where that's the case.
Yeah. I was surprised because that came up. I was at a meeting this week and someone didn't know how to answer that. And I was sitting there going, yeah, this is what happened. I didn't answer it though. I just sat there and listened.
All right. Well, we'll try to stump you next time.
Okay. Oh, no, I don't want that now.
Rick, you and I will talk. We'll come up with.
What we'll do is, we'll do that quiz on the zip code.
Zip codes.
Yes.
02898. What's that?
02 what?
02898.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Providence. PC.
I grew up in 02827.
Narragansett?
No, it's connected to 02816.
Oh, gosh. I don't know either one of those. No.
I grew up in Green.
Green. Okay. All right.
So
All
Coventry 02816. Anyway.
02816. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
that's a good little game. We'll come up with another one next time. Hey,
all right. Okay.
We will chat with you sometime in November. I think we got to look at it probably because of the Thanksgiving break and everything else.
Okay.
We will chat with you after general election.
All right, after the election and after Turkey Day. I will
And we're going to be anxious to know what you dressed as on Monday.
All right. All right. We'll let you know. All right. Have a great holiday if I don't talk to you, and we will see what happens.
All right.
Thank you very
much.
All right. Take care.
That is Superintendent Colleen Burns Jermain, Superintendent of Newport Public Schools, who listens to us while she works out. There's our listener.
She gets miles out of what we do.
That's
I don't know
it.
if that made any sense. Yeah,
She,
the fact of the matter is, it's so thankful that she puts this time aside, takes it seriously, and always never shies away from answering a question.
and I will
So
say, her office often emails us before we can get to her and says, just want to make sure we're good for this month.
yeah,
So I think they look forward to using this platform as much as we do. So
no, it's very good. There are a couple of superintendents that are incredible examples of what superintendents ought to be, not only in terms of the faculty and the kids, but also being as transparent and open to the community. Oh, I think Newport's a lucky community to have her.
that's it, Mr. Prosnitz. What are you going for Halloween?
I've been trying to figure that out. I was thinking of, I have a great wolf mask. I don't know if I want to use that or something else, but we'll see.
Okay.
I might go, I might dress up as a politician.
There you go. All right, Mr. Prosnitz, thanks for being here today. And we will do this. For those who are watching live, this is the last one we have this week. And then we have somewhere between 5 and 10 next week, everywhere from lieutenant governor down to or across to.
We have congressman, right? Next week we have
Seth Magaziner, Congressional District 1. Portsmouth school committee candidates. We're all over the place next week. So,
and plus, just so people know, when the political season ends, we're going to go on with these. There are a lot of people with a lot of great stories and things to tell that we hope we can use this format. I know
we
Dr.
just
Michael
might not
Klein,
try to fit in 6 a day, but we'll keep these going.
We'll do it a little less than that, but
that's it. All right, Mr. Prosnitz, thank you. On behalf of Frank Prosnitz, myself, all of us here at What's Up Newport, we want to thank Superintendent Colleen Burns Jermain for joining us. Missed any portion of this, want to watch it again, want to share it, want to listen to it, all available on whatsupnoop.com as a video, as well as a podcast on whatsupnoop.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for watching.